And hello, and welcome back to the Gayming Podcast Live. I'm your host, Mia, on this special DIGIPRIDE edition of the show. I'm back. I was in Japan, and now I am here. And unfortunately, you'll have to deal with that fact, but I have returned. Today, we're going to dive into all manner of the most curiously captivating queer conversation on the web. But I'm very, very happy to be back. And here live streaming on Twitch, but we're not only live streaming on Twitch, we're also live on TikTok. Absolutely fantastic. So welcome everyone and make some noise in chat. Now, as per usual for DigiPride, it's presented by Healthy Sexual, Wizards of the Coast, and Xbox, as well as being sponsored by Devolver Digital and Marvelous. Today, we are continuing our series of DigiPride roundtable specials, and we're going to be discussing women in games in this special episode, specifically sponsored by Xbox. So big thank you to them. To kick us off, Robin, lovely, lovely Robin, who you'll know from the show, spoke a few days ago with Jessie Thomas at Xbox about her life and work there. And here's that.
Hello, I am joined by Jessie Thomas from Xbox. Welcome to the podcast, Jessie. Tell us what it is you do at Xbox.
Yes, I love being here. I'm super excited to chat with you today, Robin. But I am the culture programs lead at Xbox. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm still figuring it out. I've been in this role for about a year. I'm a member of Phil Spencer's chief of staff team. And really, it's kind of working with the employee experience and making sure that our employees here at Xbox are empowered. And that could be a mix of, being connected to other people in their community, which we love. It can also be learning and making sure they have access to resources like skill building, capability building, and then just generally promoting the culture that we care about here at Xbox. I think and if it's culture related, I'm probably involved in some way.
Fingers in many pies.
Yes. It's culture's a really big word.
Yeah,
it means
it
a
is.
lot of things. And so I love it because I have a very varied job.
It's so great to hear that even exists actually at the top sort of
right?
the top levels. And I think it's a real testament to Xbox that it sits in the chief of staff sort of role as well. That it's very much. I think sometimes these things can kind of get lost in the HR teams. Whereas I think not there's anything wrong against HR teams. I should say that immediately to all HR professionals out there. But I think considering this is coming from the sort of tippity top downwards, that really sort of like embeds everything.
It does.
So what's been your journey through the games industry?
Oh man, not. I always say that, and I think a lot of people have really interesting stories about like how did you get into gaming, and there is no one linear path. Like everyone has something super different. I never anticipated getting into gaming. I will just start with that. I was going to be first I was going to be a doctor, and I am a doctor, but not a medical doctor. I have my PhD. I was studying bats. I was studying the neuroscience of bats and how they do echolocation. And I love studying a good system. I just really nerd out about it, and I love behavior. So this kind of neuroscience land is where I've lived for a long time of understanding the system that drives us and the behavior that's the outcome. So I did that for a really long time. And then I got pregnant in grad school, and it turns out when you're pregnant, you can't really research bats. That's kind of a no-no. Love them still to this day, but maybe not the most sanitary of research environments. So I started studying humans, and humans are way weirder than bats. We're very bizarre, but got really into still doing neuroscience and studying how those systems kind of interact. And over time, I kind of developed a specialty in perception and measuring human perception. That kind of led to this like chance encounter with someone who was also like working with me in the research lab, who said, hey, you should go talk to this guy at Xbox. He's doing these really interesting research. And I was doing these encoding algorithms at the time. I think he wants to talk to you about how you're doing that and to see if we could do that in video games. Wow. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go and I talk to this guy named Randy, amazing human being. And ended up starting at Xbox as a games user researcher. And I have worked on numerous titles, being the researcher, usually either paired with a team of other researchers or being the lead researcher. So I've worked on Killer Instinct, State of Decay, Ori and the Blind Forest, a little bit of Forza. My big stint was with 343 Industries and working on Halo. So I worked on Halo MCC, Halo Wars 2, and probably a good chunk of my time on Halo Infinite. So I'm familiar with the product. I love working with the people. Did that for a really long time. But as I was going about that, one of the pieces I realized is I had this theme of being really into culture of, hey, it's not the culture of making a game and what goes into that, as well as how you talk to your audience. That's fascinating. Like, that is fascinating. A game is so much more than just the pixels on the screen, right? A game is an experience that you're crafting for people.
Yeah.
And the culture that goes into making that game is often as important as the output, as the product. And so I kind of shifted and then entered this new role to kind of explore what I could do there.
I love it. And I think it's a common phrase that I always use when I'm sort of doing these kind of talks or presentations or whatever else, when we're talking about sort of how diversity in companies is really important, and particularly in the video game space. The sort of catchphrase that I start to use is that diverse studios make diverse games. It's just a process. And I think if you get everything set in your studio, almost by default, you will start to create good, authentic, diverse games coming out the back end.
Completely.
So this is a Women in Games special of our podcast series. Obviously, we're talking about women in the wonderfully most broadest sense possible. So how has life in the industry been for you as an LGBTQ woman?
Oh, this is a good question. So I like to tell this story of, I joined Xbox when it was a teenager. So I joined Xbox in 2015. And if you're tracking the gaming world timeline, we are talking like right smack dab Gamergate. Like I was basically joining the team and going through this time at this time when the industry was kind of going through this Gamergate moment. And I came from academia. I had an entirely different background. So entering a space, I've always been in kind of like male dominated spaces. I was pre-med at Michigan. I was the only neuroscience major in my class. So in some ways I was kind of anticipating or being used to entering a space that I had assumed was going to be very male dominated. Then having the Gamergate kind of thing happen at the same time, it was this real moment where I think a lot of folks in the industry had to stop and look around and say, all right, it's time to draw a line in the sand. Like, who are we going to be? Who are we going to be? What are we going to accept, and what are we no longer going to accept? And that, I have to be really honest about Xbox. It was a moment where I was like, okay, this is where I want to be, because I could very clearly feel the way that we were having that conversation, and the fact that it was a very honest conversation of, we've got work to do, and we're on a journey, and we need to figure this out. So having joined, it was all of us kind of figuring out what that looks like. Like, we're all got the North Star of, hey, this is the aspirational culture. This is the direction we want to go. How do we do that? And boy, are we going to flub it up along the way. Like, yes, that happened a ton of times as people would ask or find things out. I had designers ask me, how do we make sure that this character looks a certain way, or is this appropriate? And those conversations can get really awkward. And your job is to kind of like roll with the awkwardness as we kind of go forward and take those steps. And now it's so funny. I really don't think about it a ton. There are moments when it arrives, especially being out or being queer. That used to be something that even myself, as I was on my own journey to figure out, like, who am I?
What's happening?
What is happening? What is this? Being able to do that in a space at Xbox where honestly, coming to work and not being myself is just something I don't think about anymore. And that's a privilege, right? It is a privilege. So yeah, has there been bumps along the way? Absolutely. Both like within our industry as we figure it out, as well as myself. But do I feel like, oh my gosh, it was so worth it? Absolutely. Every single day.
That's so cool. It sounds like there's a really supportive kind of network there. which sort of actually brings me on to my next question, which is
yeah,
specifically related to LGBTQ staff. How does Xbox support the sort of like the queerness in the company?
Yeah, it's another thing where I sit and I reflect on like what was it like when I first started and what is it like now. And we have what we call Gaming for Everyone communities, and lots of folks. We have Team Xbox LGBTQIA plus that hosts really good connected community moments. They have amazing leads and really just providing a safe space to talk about it. And being part of that community, it's funny how over time, I've always been grateful to have that. We also have a Women in Gaming, Gaming for Everyone community, which is also extremely supportive. And now more and more, like I'm surrounded by so many fellow queer and LGBTQIA people that I'm like, we're kind of just everywhere. Like this is just part of the normal fabric of
it's the gay agenda.
I mean, yes, is making games, feeling great, and rocking it. That's our agenda. So it moved from a place of needing very intentional and specific support, and those moments still show up for sure when things get challenging. To now feeling like it's just integrated. It's a lot more integrated into what we do. It doesn't feel like it's this extra thing. It just feels like, well, we're just supporting each other because we're colleagues, right? Like that's just what we do.
Absolutely. And I think you can always see when a company's been on that journey, because I think it goes from the very intentional to kind of like just the everyday. And it doesn't mean every day is being lazy. It just means that you've kind of ticked. It's just getting to a point where people can just be themselves. And have however they present themselves is valuable to the company, and people respect that. So I think it sounds fantastic. So obviously we're coming towards the end of Pride Month. This is we're sat here, let's be honest, we're sat here on the 28th of June. It's still Pride Month, even though the podcast is going out on the 2nd of July. Hello, the future.
Hello.
But tell me about, obviously Pride Month is Pride Month, but Pride is 365 for us as well. But I know that Xbox has been doing some very exciting things in Pride Month. Totally. So what has Xbox been up to?
It's I love that you mentioned the 365-ness of it, because I think that's one thing that especially when various corporate groups go out there and they're, kind of there's questions about how are you celebrating, or like what are you doing? And is it 1 month a year? And that comes up a lot. And it's funny because for us, like I said, it's such a normal part of our lives and every day that we really try and use this time to either celebrate or support other groups or other areas that I think, how can we increase our representation within the games that we're making? How can we support groups that maybe don't have the same privileges that we have and the same comfort and safe spaces that we do? And going back to the concept of representation, we have this partnership that we have signed with GLAAD, which is just awesome. Being able to have that partnership, our Xbox Game Studios publishing team is partnering with them. And as a researcher, I'm a person who's had that experience of having those insights from, we call them subject matter experts, which is always like fun because like as a fellow queer woman, I'm like, oh, does this make me a subject matter queer expert? Awesome. But being able to partner and create things authentically and do so from as you're building the game and really get that integrated. So that's one piece that we're really drawing some attention to is hey, this isn't a one and done. This is actually, we're renewing our commitments to this. And then there's also donations. Microsoft has a Microsoft Match, which is really great, which I use regularly to earn donations for various groups that we want to support, especially a lot of LGBTQIA groups that either we support financially or we support with like our tools and our services. Various charities that we kind of connect with and do that as well. And then it's just honestly like having some fun and playing some games together. I know that we curate a collection of LGBTQIA games. You can probably still check it out. You turn on your PC or your console. You
Head
can
to
check
Game
out
Pass now.
Oh, look at that. I appreciate the commercial being vetted in here. Game Pass, best deal in gaming. But no, it is honestly a time to celebrate the progress and the creations that we do have as well. And so being able to try out those games that we've partnered with, it's a good time.
Yeah, I have to admit, I know that Xbox have sort of like a really great commitments to all of those sort of things. But when I read that the partnership with Glad to create that kind of authenticity, I think authenticity for us is such a watchword in gaming. Half of our gaming awards are built around celebrating authenticity and doing things right. And I think that being able to kind of commit to that, and it becomes a 365 action. It's not just for June. You're not just going to make a gay game in June and then that's it. It'll pop it back in the closet for another 12 months kind of thing. So I think,
could you imagine though if we did, like there would just be like, oh man, it's June, bust out our yearly gay game.
Get out the gay game. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That
that's the sale.
Almost kind of fun though, in some like weird way.
Shoot for a gay game next year. Just call it the gay game.
I'll write that down. Hey Phil,
Pop it on Phil's desk.
Get the gay game on par. Let's go.
Exactly. Love it. Jessie, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your time. It's absolutely fantastic. And have a fun, wonderful vacation. I know you're heading off to down to Mexico way in a couple of days' time.
It's going to be great. I'm going to get tan and every drink I want like some type of umbrella or accessory with.
Absolutely.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Multiple fruit.
Multiple fruit. All the fruit. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to hand back over to Mia and have a rest of a brilliant podcast. Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Robin. Absolutely fantastic stuff there. Now, as you can see, to continue the conversation, I'm joined by some very special guests today. Please welcome returning friendos of the stream. We have foxqueen, also known as Alice, radderss, and whinnaay. And of course, joining us for the first time today is gleaney. Hello. Welcome on in. How are you all doing this fine day? We'll go down the line. How's your day been so far? We'll start with you, radderss.
Oh, God. Great. It's late now. It's 9:20.
Awesome. And whinnaay, how about you?
Oh, so I'm in Canada, actually. So my day has basically just started. It's mid-afternoon. I woke up, got ready, had some coffee and food, and now I'm here. So it's a great start to the day.
Fantastic way to start the day. Absolutely. Alice, foxqueen, how are you?
I'm very good. I streamed right beforehand, so I'm a little bit sleepy because of that, but like I'm still in it.
I saw you raiding. This was it Savage Raids, was it? Yeah.
P9S in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, repping that Final Fantasy 14. And gleaney, how about yourself, fellow Brit? You're also muted.
I'm good. Yeah, sorry. Professional streamer. Yeah, I'm good. I spent the day in meetings preparing for TwitchCon, doing a panel on improv comedy. So
exciting stuff. But yeah, it's only a week away now. Should be a lot of fun. I wish I was going to be there this year.
I wish we were going to be there.
Yeah. And we could have hung out like we did last year, but alas, it was not in the cards this year, unfortunately. Too many cool things happening here during DigiPride for me to take myself away from that. It's unfortunate, but that is what it is. Anyway, that's not what we're here for today. We're here because we have a fantastic conversation coming up. But before we get into that, Gaming wanted to give you and our you a chance to get to let the listeners know you a little bit better. So I want you to all to tell them about you. Who are you? What do you do? What do you stream? What kind of content do you make? And again, we'll go down the line again. radderss, tell everybody who you are.
This is great because I always love being like the first person to get the eyes on in the room. It always makes me feel really good about myself. I feel so comfortable right now. Hi, everybody. I'm radderss. I am a very disabled, very not straight human being, mostly, who has many cats and I have a huge focus on like kind of accessibility, not just in games but in also like the content that I create, and trying to make the community as inclusive as possible. And yeah, I make content that is silly, very silly, very chaotic, and one day I'd like to work in the games industry. So the interview we just had was fantastic for me.
Very, very cool. And Whinnaay, how about yourself? Tell everybody about yourself.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Winnie, or Whinnaay, as some people say it. You can also call me Win. I am a bisexual Chinese Canadian streamer and content creator. Also a fellow cat lover. I feel like that's maybe not a requirement, but something that we might all have in common here potentially. So I've started streaming 2 years ago. I mainly play games such as Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, but I'm mainly into games that have a lot of interactivity and co-op or some sort of PvE element to them, because I use gaming as a social tool, and that's also reflected in my streaming and my content. I really, really enjoy getting to meet a lot of people, and also advocating for those who don't have as much of a voice or who feel more comfortable being quieter, and just putting myself out there, because I feel like there's not a lot of Gaysian queer creators in the public gaming space. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here as well. Again, returning for the second time, I believe. So it was great having you last time. It's going to be great this time, no doubt. Of course, there's Alice, foxqueen. Tell everybody about what you do.
Yeah, so I stream a lot of JRPGs typically. I'm very pan, very gay, gay married, and very Jewish also. But I primarily do a lot of Final Fantasy 14, typically a lot of like first playthroughs of games and reactions of games typically. But I like focusing on keeping a very comfy community aspect to my streams, and having like a safe space for a lot of people that otherwise, wouldn't have that, and being very openly gay and using my privilege as a white woman to, be able to speak for others and stuff,
I feel you there. I feel you there. And again, it's good to have you back too. This is there's twice in as many weeks this time. So yeah, it was a fantastic having you on the house party as well. Actually, wait, was that 2 weeks ago? I think that was 2 weeks.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
No, wait, was it? Oh, I have no idea at this point. Time is an illusion. I think it was 2 weeks ago. Anyway, Gleaney, here for the first time. Tell everybody about yourself and what it is you do.
So, hi, I'm Gleaney. I stream mainly Genshin Impact. I'm a gay content creator. I like to do a lot of silly stuff on stream. My streams tend to be adversary against my chat. I like to basically trigger them in with challenging them. We do a lot of challenges on stream. We also play other games as well. I like adventure quest games. Currently playing Final Fantasy 16. Having a lot of fun with that. And I like Pokemon as well. I do like 24-hour streams when a new Pokemon game is released. I also wear Pokemon onesies exclusively.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me on there.
And looking amazing, by the way. I noticed that I constantly see you in either the Pikachu or the Gengar, and I'm like, oh, I have both of those in the background right now. I didn't put those there on purpose. I just want to point that out. They've been there for a while. Although that would have been a nice tie-in if I had. Anyway, fantastic. So great to have you all here jumping into this conversation. But before we get into that, we're going to take a look at how you can keep yourself healthy in all situations with the following video from DIGIPRIDE partner, Healthy Sexual. Should be popping up right about now. I'll tell you what, I'm on that.
Honestly, No one wants to think about HIV, but there are things that everyone can do to help prevent it. It starts with getting tested regularly. If you're HIV negative, you and your healthcare provider can decide if PrEP may be right for you. PrEP means routinely taking prescription medicine before you're exposed to HIV to help reduce your chances of getting it. And it can be 99% effective when taken as prescribed.
Talk to a healthcare provider about all your HIV prevention options. Our health is worth protecting.
Indeed, our health is definitely worth protecting. So as this is a special roundtable podcast, we're going to be dedicating all our time today is the big question. And generally, it's not a question this time. It's more so of a general topic, and it's all about being women in gaming and queer women in gaming specifically. So I'll start us off here. Let's softball representation in video games. Are we starting to see characters that are more authentic? Are there characters that you love, hate? Who wants to jump in on that? Who's your faves? Let's start with that. Who are your favorite characters, female characters in games? Who do you rep?
I literally mentioned her like a couple days ago on a different podcast, but Fran from New Tales from the Borderlands. She's a quite large, quite disabled, very pansexual queer woman. And she is chaotic, and she has the most ridiculous dirty mind, and she is just fantastic. And I love her. But
Very
also,
cool.
To do the second part of your question,
Yeah.
I do see more authenticity in games, and it's not it's not just like that instead of a white male protagonist, we have a white female protagonist now, and it's yay. I mean, like, we're getting stories from cultures all around, cultures that we never would have been exposed to. So like Chia comes to mind instantly, which is just, to me, introduced me to a whole world of like music and cultures that I never really knew about, and yet it was still a beautiful experience. I got to learn.
Absolutely. I do definitely think that there is a lot more growth now, especially with games that are inspired by those different cultures around the world. Did anybody else want to jump in with their faves first of all? Oh, foxqueen, you're muted.
Sorry. No, I was talking to my lovely wife. She was updating me on our sourdough that she's making right now.
Oh,
You're fine. You're okay.
that's amazing. Honestly, I could sit here and talk about sourdough if you want.
God,
But
don't get me started.
no. Do you have any favorite characters in video games? A good representation? Are you?
Yeah. So, well, Dragon Age is my favorite series, and I love so many of the sapphic representations in it. And also just the gay representations, just in general, and trans rep, and there's so much representation in it. It makes me happy, and of course, there needs to be more, and I'm hoping for more in the next game. But I feel like it's definitely paved the way for a lot of games that are AAA because a lot of indie have been obviously like pushing boundaries, but for AAA games, I think especially Origins, which is the first Dragon Age game, definitely did a lot there. But I think Meryl was really important to me, and I really saw myself a lot in her. She's in Dragon Age 2. She's very bi, and it's all of the characters in 2 are all bisexual, and I think for me that was very important to see as a child when I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah.
And Liliana in Origins also was my first intro to seeing a gay woman ever in a video game, so that was pretty cool.
I definitely feel like BioWare have done a better job than most of being ahead of the times when it comes to representation in their video games, specifically as a AAA studio, because most of the time it just feels like indies are the ones leading the way.
Yeah, I wholheartedly agree.
Mm,
It's definitely harder to see representation in AAAs. So to see them doing that at my young age, when I was younger, it was really important for me to see that because I didn't have the opportunity to play many indie games growing up because I didn't get into PC gaming until I was an adult. So it was really, really cool.
Gleaney, what about yourself? Is there any aspects of like really well done or representation that you've seen in games that live stuck with you?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't really felt like I've personally been represented in a character yet. I'm hoping that it'll happen for the future. But yeah, I've yet to see a black, gay woman in a video game, which I can identify with. I hope one day I will. I've got a little bit of a bone to pick with Fox Queen about Dragon Age, right?
Oh, yeah?
I played Dragon Age Inquisition, right? I felt, is her name Cassandra?
I know what you're about to say.
I fell in love with her, and I could not romance her for the life of me.
Okay.
And she's clearly gay. She's so gay. She's like, I'm sorry, no, I don't feel that way.
Wholeheartedly agreed.
It upset me. Once she rejected me, I stopped playing. I rage quit.
Morgan flirts with you in Origins. Also, it pisses me off so much. I'm like, just kiss me.
But yeah, characters that I love in video games. I'm a big Chi stan. It's a character in Genshin, and she's a healer. And she's my favorite character. I like games where I need healers because I'm not very good at games. So yeah, Chi-Chi's like my favorite character in Genshin. I'm a Chi-Chi main. But yeah, I like I said, I've yet to feel represented. Hopefully, I'm hoping that one game developer, game company I'll find that character out there. I'm hoping for the future. We came close with Forspoken. I really like the main character in that, the protagonist, but yeah, I like still we're close. We're getting there.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah. I will. We'll circle back to Forspoken later because I feel like it could be a very big part of certain parts of this conversation that we're going to have today. So, Whinnaay, how about you? Have you felt represented in any video games, or is there any authentic representation that that struck you and you thought this is decent?
Honestly, I kind of agree with Gleaney here, and like maybe it's also because I am I feel a little bit not sheltered, but I tend to stick to certain types of games. So again, like Genshin, Star Rail. I played like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Animal Crossing. But like in Animal Crossing, it's not like you are the character. So I guess I've seen that I feel represented there. But growing up, like Fox Queen mentioned, I wasn't a PC gamer. I played a lot of Nintendo games. I was a Nintendo fangirl, and I really, really liked Sonic. But in terms of like seeing myself in these mostly AAA games, it was very like non-existent even, I want to say. I really can't think of any answer to that question. Like when you first asked me, you're like, oh, like did you see any like do you have any favorite female character? I really had to stop and think and be like, like not really, like not because I necessarily relate with them. Like I think the first person that came to mind was actually a character from Final Fantasy 13. Her name is Sarah Farron, I think how you pronounce her last name, but she's like the younger sister of the protagonist named Lightning, and Lightning is very fierce. She doesn't take any shit from anyone. She's really cool, but I really related with Sarah, even though she doesn't present as Asian, but she was very timid. She wasn't playable in the first Final Fantasy 13 game, but she was, I guess, like her role was she was the love interest of one of the other main characters. But then in the second Final Fantasy 13 game, she is the main playable character, and the character development that she goes through, like she really starts to learn how to stand up for herself and fight and become courageous and brave and fearless. And seeing her go through that was really, it was like, oh, I want to be like that too someday, and be able to step into a role like that and be able to do all these cool things and also save or at least stand up for the people that I love. So
I definitely feel you on that one. So I get the vibe here that even though I feel I personally, and it generally feels like the industry is getting better for representation, that we still have so much longer to go because there are so many specific stories that are not being told. Like, again, just like whinnaay and gleaney, you both say, like, you haven't felt truly represented in a video game. Like, I too, from being like a trans woman, I've never seen like a video game story centered around like that, except for like very, very specific tiny indie games. But when it comes to the AAA industry, there's nothing. You know, there's hardly anything there. So it definitely does feel like there is a long way to go still. And I guess that ties in quite well to our next topic in terms of like the industry at large. Obviously, not necessarily the same as it was several years ago, or even like during the times where there was, say, pushback against Anita Sarkeesian coming in as a feminist and all the hate that she received. A lot of the stuff that she faced back then, there was a lot of vitriol, toxicity. So I imagine these are still challenges for most women within the industry. So I wanted to open up and say, what challenges do you think women still face, both in the industry and as content creators? What have you personally faced as women in the industry? Again, that's open to anybody.
Oh yeah, I'll jump in on this one. One of the challenges I find as a content creator, particularly a woman of color, is actually like pay, like grossly underpaid for sponsorships and stuff like that. And it's kind of like the industry like doesn't think we don't talk to each other, and you like ask each other like, what did you get paid for this job? And like you find out that and before they used to use our like metrics for like numbers and say, oh well, your numbers aren't high enough. But then I've had instances where content creators where their numbers are lower than mine and they're still getting paid more than me. So I think that's something that drastically has to change. And also the kind of a lot of brands, they sort of celebrate this one thing and they'll throw lots of sponsors at you for like one particular month and then nothing. And then it's like, you know, I'm a black gay female all year round, not just Black History Month or Women's History Month or, you know, LGBTQIA month. Like, yeah, so it's quite frustrating, I find. Also chasing up money after sponsors, I think something that the industry has to change on as well.
Most definitely. I feel you on that. Like, especially we've touched on this before, how generally when it comes to like big corporations, they only want to dip their toes in on those specific months, and when it comes to the rest of the year, they just completely dip out, and it's one of the most frustrating things. I imagine everybody else feels the same way. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Was there how about yourselves for the rest of the panel here? What are the challenges have you personally faced?
You go.
Sorry, yeah, it's difficult because when you are a minority in more than one way, it's hard to separate, right? Because you're never quite like 100% sure, like, oh, is it because I'm disabled? Oh, is it because I'm a woman? Oh, is it because I'm fat? Oh, is it because of any of these like many things that somebody could not like about me? And like, is that the reason why I'm getting so much hate? But I think, you know, I've had the same sort of experiences as most women in games. Like if I played, like back when I used to play CSGO, like men would either talk crap about me because I'm a woman and tell me to get into the kitchen, or they try and like flirt with me, and the only thing that was good about me was, you know, and it's and it's an attitude that kind of extends to all parts of the games industry and all parts of like content creation, right? Because if you start succeeding as a woman, it's because you've got tits, or because you have been like sucking up to someone at Twitch or whatever. Like there's always some excuse that these people will find and attribute it to us being a woman or being gay or being disabled or whatever. Like they'll find something, and that because they just hate that we exist and hate that we are thriving in our in what we're doing, because especially with like content creation, it is such a joyous world to be in, right? And we're so fortunate to have audiences and communities that care about us. Like it's a wild thing that we can be here on the internet and we're just showing our authentic selves to the world, and people are showing us kindness in return. And I think that rustles a lot of people's jimmies. And I think that especially when these people that give us this hate, they're so insecure and so deeply unhappy with themselves that they try and find anything to dislike about us, even if it's not really a dislikable thing. They're just a bigot, right? That doesn't really matter. They're still gonna use these things against us. And
Totally. Yeah, just finding excuses for their own inadequacies a lot of the time, which is it's so frustrating. Absolutely. Foxqueen, did you have something to add on?
Mine was pretty close to what Radderss said. It just and also just in the vein of just being sexualized like a lot. And I hate being sexualized, but it's just being a woman online is just gonna happen and it sucks. I just kind of want to like, I don't know, I just want to be thought of as like a cool dude, and people see that I'm a lady and they're like sexy, and I'm like, no, don't.
Don't even go there. Stop.
Yeah, literally hard breaks. Do not talk about me like that. Like, and it's just kind of just existing as a woman is kind of exhausting in that capacity, because and I am so sure it is worse for anyone with any other issue too, or just like BIPOC people in general. Like, but just exhausting as a woman kind of sucks too. So I can't even imagine like anything plus that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, again, from my perspective, obviously there's like, and I imagine we all get like hate for being queer as well. There's been an uptick of a lot of anti-LGBTQI plus stuff that we have been seeing this past over the last, well, several years, but mostly ramping up over this last year or so, which has been incredibly frustrating. And it's actually been really, really annoying to see the corporations like pulling back because of things like that as well. I'm not sure if you can echo this too, but it does feel like this last year that like the amount of like sponsorships and offers and things like that for people, or even activations during Pride Month, just seem to be non-existent. But that obviously separate issue. That aside, Win, how about yourself? What kind of challenges do you feel like you've faced, and would you put that as a woman in the industry?
Yeah, it's I really, to kind of echo what Radder said, I feel like any sort of setback, or if I feel like I'm not making enough progress compared to my peers, I can't help but ask myself, is it because I am a woman in gaming? And I feel like representation and just like women in general, we have grown in the gaming scene. There's a lot more visibility, a lot more female content creators like stepping up, but I feel like there's still like a stigma. So I asked myself, is it because I'm a woman, or is it because I'm Asian, or is it because I'm, like I have the bisexual tag on my stream? I would say for me, being a woman in gaming, I think the biggest issue, aside from what's already been mentioned here, with like the reduced pay and then being sexualized, is a lot of backseating. I've had to really, really drawn, like I would say I'm a pretty friendly person and I'm open to advice. And there are times in games when I struggle, but I've had to so many times compared to like my male friends or other male streamers, had to tell people like, hey, like stop, can you stop telling me what to do, because I want to figure it out for myself. And I know you just want to help, but you feeding me the information is not fun. Yes, like, and it tends to be, the people who are backseating tend to be men.
Always.
And along with that also comes a like, there's like a lot more pressure, I think, to prove yourself. And it feels like other people just don't see us as maybe this is a separate topic, but for games where I do feel like I know a decent amount of information, it feels like people don't come to us, to women, for that sort of content. Like, I know one of my friends, she is one of the most thorough, detailed guide makers for Genshin, and I've seen her get so much flack compared to the male guide makers because people don't think she knows what she's talking about because she's a woman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
that-
so just awful to see, because, and again, maybe it goes back to they just hate that we exist, but it sucks because it's like we all just want to play games and have fun. Why does it matter, our gender, right? And then it's like, oh, like if you're good at games or you're doing well as a streamer or content creator, it's because you're a woman. But if you're bad at games and you're having a bad round in CS:GO or Valorant, it's because you're a woman too. So we literally can't win.
Yeah.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, it seems to be the main aspect in like all manners of life and in general. It's like anything that you do, you're going to receive flack for it, whether it's like, again, choosing to wear makeup, choosing not to wear makeup, like there's always going to be somebody in the background just giving you grief for whatever you try and do. And honestly, I think there's something to be said about like historically there's been so much gatekeeping within the video game industry as well, considering it was an industry that was directed from a marketing perspective at like boys and young men first and foremost, and like controlled by men in positions of power in the industry. Do you feel that's that things have changed more or less now? Obviously, there's still a lot of toxicity that I no doubt we all deal with on the daily. Like, let's compare this to, say, like 5 years ago, just even existing online. Do you feel it's better now, or is it about the same?
So I guess I'll start. But so I've been streaming on Twitch since like 2015. So I've seen a really big shift from then. And I remember back when I first started streaming, I wasn't friends with a lot of women, and I especially was not friends with anyone that was queer at the time, like at all. And I know they existed, and I know we all existed, right? But I think it was a lot harder to find each other back then without tags and without easier search methods. And that's just specifically talking on Twitch, not just the gaming industry. But I think while there's been more representation because more people that are diverse have been hired in areas a little bit, right? I still think it is a like bounds and leaps ways to go. Because especially as Winnie and Gleaney were saying, like, I think there's white sapphic representation, but there's not much more. Like, we have white cis women that are getting up there, and that's kind of like we need more diversity there, and more than just white women at the top. Like, definitely much more needs to be done, but like I think it's getting there. Like, we've made steps, and that's kind of like it, like a little bit, but not entirely.
Would anybody else like to jump in on that?
Yeah, I agree with foxqueen. Also, like, if you look at the directory of Twitch in particular, like, there aren't a great deal. I think, like, I can count them on one hand of women, even like white cis women at the top of the directory. Like, I feel a lot of content creators, even big female content creators, are there's like a ceiling there still. But I think it's definitely come leaps and bounds over the last 5 years. But yeah, I think we do have a very long way to go.
Well, most definitely. From what you're saying, it just occurs to me that it feels like the industry and the way that people are treated within industries definitely feels like a reflection of, again, like you say, the people that are in control at the top. And if there is not enough women involved, or not enough, like, again, people of color or any marginalized community, that representation is not going to be seen within the projects that are being created. Because, yeah, I mean, whose stories are they going to tell except for like white people's, unless they're a bunch of white people trying to tell the story of another marginalized community and doing it wrong, like potentially Forspoken did. But yeah, so again, it just seems. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just had like a little thought about the whole like progress thing.
Yeah.
As we all are very aware, having existed, progress is never really linear, right? So I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but personally, over the last year, I've been feeling like we're very much in our one step back phase.
Yeah.
With society and representation and how it all like kind of trickles down from the top. So like when society as a whole is more united, those at the top kind of have to be with us, right? But it feels very much like society's kind of at odds with itself lately. And there's been very much a very anti-trans push in many societies, which I, for one, as a cis person, I'm not fucking here for, like, at all. Not having it, don't want it, don't like to see it. And that's just my incredibly privileged perspective of witnessing this all happening, right? And so companies are leaving LGBTQ and trans people especially kind of in the lurch these days, compared to where there would be more of a tenuous support in the past, like a broad support, you know? And so, yeah, I haven't been having a lot of confidence recently in how things have been going. And I kind of feel like there's a little bit of a social fight on our hands, just to kind of claw back some of that progress and continue pushing forward. But yeah,
honestly, it does feel like the elephant in the room in a lot of things that are going on these days. It's just like, yeah, it literally feels like things are pretty bad, but it's important that I push through. That's what I keep telling myself. We need to push through. We just need to stand for what we believe in. And like you say, this is the one step back part of this, but it's there are so many bright things in the future potentially coming that we have to like stay together and stay strong and stay unified. And I mentioned this on one of the shows that we did the other day, but like having the earnest, again, not to necessarily always be on marginalized communities, to like urge allies to actually step forward and go to bat for us. Because, and again, this doesn't matter who you are, whether or not you're, either a woman or part of the LGBTQI plus community, without our allies, it's not an impossible task, but it's a damn sight harder. So if you are an ally and you are watching, it's the earnest is on you to like take those steps and help out your friends in these places, because we are in that one step back phase, as you say. And it can be very difficult to talk about as well. I feel like everybody's probably been feeling those same frustrations. I mean, like it's a little bit overwhelming. So again, thank you so much for giving up your time and even talking about these, because it can be a lot of emotional labor to even like have these conversations at this time. So again, thank you again. So let's when did you want to add anything to that part of the conversation just before I move on?
Oh no, I 100% agree with what everyone else here said. Especially, well, I'm agreeing a lot with radderss today. But yeah, like, progress, I think, with everything else in life, it isn't linear. It's not straightforward. There's always going to be like, it's gonna look like waves. There's gonna be ups and downs, periods where things seem to be going well, and then things don't go the way that we expect them to. But I think that overall, in the grand scheme of things, it does feel like we are slowly but surely, like, things are getting better. And I know it's hard to believe because, again, there's so much anti-trans rhetoric right now. What you mentioned, Mia, I've also observed where corporations, a lot of them seem to have pulled out of publicly supporting Pride, doing Pride activations. There's seems to be less opportunities for queer people nowadays. But I think that when you compare it to like 5 years ago, I do still feel deep down inside that things are better. It feels like there is more representation. There are more people of color and more minorities being hired in positions in gaming, and not just in gaming, but in like across society. So hopefully we just continue to. I know it's really tiring because we've been fighting for so long, and it can feel discouraging to hear that we need to keep fighting. But what else can we do, right?
Exactly. You
gotta
got to keep going.
Be the change we want to see in the world. Yeah,
exactly. So let's move on to something more positive. Let's try and be a bit constructive, because I don't want to be too doom and gloomy about this whole thing. So what do you feel like? What major changes do you feel the industry needs to make in order to be more welcoming to women and marginalized communities, I guess, at large? I mean, again, like I say, is the earnest even on us to make those changes, or is it on somebody else? So how do you feel about looking towards the future and what needs to be done?
I think it's similar to what Radderss said, that we got to be in the room where it happens. Like have more women, people of color, marginalized groups at the top of like gaming industries, brands and stuff that make these big decisions. Because at the moment, I'm pretty confident that those rooms are just filled with cis white guys. So I feel like that needs to change, and that if that changes and then it kind of trickles down, culture changes, and then the people at the top who are making the decisions about stuff will get content creators, people, developers, other stuff from those marginalized backgrounds, and more women as well. So yeah, I think that's what really needs to happen.
Absolutely.
To quote a real world example of this, I think we kind of have to be in the room when things are getting decided, because don't know if you all saw Summer Games Fest and how there wasn't a single non-man featured in any of it, really.
Yeah.
Not in an interview, not on stage, not hosting. And then people were like, well, hold up a minute. Like, there's so many women and like people of color and like LGBTQ people in games that would do fantastic in this space. Like, why aren't you working with any of them? And then an article comes out and it's just like, oh, we would have had a woman there, but she couldn't make it.
Yeah,
right?
It just seems like
then
there's
find
no
more
excuse,
of us.
really. Yeah,
like find more. Like, don't just have one singular woman cast for the whole event when there's like 20 men that you were cycling through. Like, have more diversity, and then maybe these things wouldn't happen. Like, it's 2023, and we've been to like, not to like specifically use a misogynistic phrase, but like I've been banging on about it for long enough. Like, it's been a conversation for so long at this point.
Yeah, and
Is
you think
banging
people
on
will
a
be caught up?
misogynistic phrase? Sorry.
I think it is when it's like used in like, oh yeah, she's banging on again, like in that sense.
I see.
Sorry, I'm not
Yeah.
British.
But it's a
I have
very
no
like
idea.
British thing.
That is a very British thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to change the topic there. I was just so curious after you said that.
Yeah, I've never heard that phrase before either.
I have.
That makes
I'm British.
Yeah.
The Brits here know. The Brits here
British
know.
people.
We know.
We're the
Do we
worst.
think that's like generally just the crux of the issue? Then it's just the people in charge that need to basically step up and be more accommodating and seeing more diversity in those spaces. Do you think there's anything that we can do to try and help make that happen? It just feel like we're a little powerless sometimes. I feel like these conversations are great for that, but I feel like we need to like get like there seems to be a barrier between getting that information to them sometimes. Like they're in their own bubble. Do you feel like that's the way it feels sometimes? Like that's just its own encompassed bubble.
I think if you're given the option to be that representation, like advocating for others in the space that also need the representation, like not just taking your spotlight, like trying to help others, like bring others into it as well. I think is probably and using our space and our platform, because I mean obviously we can't always like just break into the bubble that is the big AAA boys room, right? But I think trying to do so and showing representation and being representation, and again, if you're represented, trying to pass the torch to others in those situations, especially other minorities that are less represented, you know what I mean? I didn't say that right, but you know what I'm saying. But just generally, just trying to help lift up others whenever you get lifted up, and breaking into that boys room. You know what I mean?
I agree 100% with what foxqueen's saying. One of my kind of ethoses is that the rising tide raises all boats, and I firmly believe that. So when I get an opportunity and they ask me, oh, do you know any other streamers that would be a good fit, or like for events, if you know any other streamers that would be available, I give them a long list of other streamers, other content creators. Because we get into a pattern where it is sort of like the token woman, the token black woman that goes to all the events. And it's great that you have the spotlight on you, but like foxqueen said, we need to lift each other up. I think that would help a great deal. And if each individual does that, I think over time we'd see a massive progression.
Most definitely. So generally with this part of the conversation, it's so interesting that we mentioned like that has been mentioned, that we need to be, taking our own actions, and like I feel like there are some fantastic organizations already doing that. Do you feel like there are what specific companies would you say in the content creation industry, whether which companies are doing a bang up job of like trying to change things, be it like supporting their female talent? Also, radderss, if you I know you wanted to take a break, you can totally take that break, no problem.
Also,
Thank you so much.
Love...
Oh, that was not me. Sorry. We'll get radderss back after the break, and I'll find out exactly what it was that she was going to say.
I'm so
thank
curious.
you to our producer there for cutting. Oh God, it's Elon Musk. He's rate limiting us already. No.
Oh my God.
Apologies to radderss for that. No worries. Okay. Sorry, where was I? I don't know where I am today. Let's bring that back around. So organizations, are there any organizations that are doing great work in the space right now that you would like to call out?
Okay, for me, I've got Black Twitch UK, Noir. These are stream teams that have been pivotal in teaching me about like rates and what I should be expecting for a stream, and just educating me on the space. They've been amazing. Ion Agency, again, that's run by Stephanie, who started Nay Saga, and that's really pushing for getting paid your worth, getting paid the rates you deserve. And companies that I've worked with, Ubisoft, have been pretty awesome with regards to sponsorship work and paying me my rates, and Kepler Games as well. And I mean, Twitch, like they put me on the front page for LGBTQIA plus month. They've put me on the front page for Black History Month and Women's History Month as well. So I mean, they're trying, they're doing something, which is exciting, and I hope for more for the future. But yeah, those are the standouts for me.
Sorry, yes, so it's been absolutely fantastic to see you like popping up in those promos as well. I have been seeing them, like you're popping off, showing off the ads on your personal phone as well. That was a very clippable moment. I'm glad like Twitch picked that up. I like there was, and I'm not sure if it's still active now, but I know that Twitch has its like guilds too, which are being headed up, and there are some specifically for different marginalized communities. I know there was the Twitch Women's Alliance as well, and I think that that might be going through a few changes. I'm not sure if it's defunct now.
It's done.
It's
It's
kaput.
finished.
Yeah.
It's kaput.
It's kinda
They're
sad to
doing
see
guilds
that.
instead. I know. I was like, we're all in one space. Why are we dividing it
Yeah.
more? Particularly that there's not one in the UK. There's not a guild yet in the UK. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll just have to go to bat for that. I'll just have to start complaining at him and say, "Yo, can we get a UK guild, please?" Or something like that. That would be really, really nice. But yeah, it is nice to see Twitch doing something. Are there any other organizations that you're looking at that you've been looking up to? Let's say.
I've heard Noir is great. As Gleaney said, I've heard amazing things about Noir from fellow from Black content creators about how they've really been making sure that people know their rates and know like what you are supposed to get paid. And I think that's amazing. And I think that's so cool. I think Four Directions is pretty good, which is a Twitch team. They're an indigenous Twitch team, specifically to America. But I think they're so cool, and I look up to them a lot. I think they're amazing. I don't have any that have specifically worked for me that I'd like to shout out, but I think those two I think have been doing amazing things in the industry, and I think they're super cool.
Awesome. And how about yourself, Win? Is there
For me,
any organizations that you're like they're doing great?
Yeah, actually, so this might sound a little biased, but I do actually want to point out that Stream Elements has been really, really, really helpful. I don't know if people have heard, but every year they they have this creator diversity program where they accept a set number of applicants to this program, and the program is really helpful for underrepresented minorities in the content creator and streaming space. And they provide you with resources. There's like a little bit of funding to help you with your content creation journey, and then also just like getting access to people within the industry. So I am, disclaimer, I am a recipient of this program for this year, but it's honestly such a great opportunity. Everyone in the program is, yes, like they're either a person of color, or they're part of the LGBTQA plus community, or they're like we even have some indigenous identifying people there too. And just getting to see everyone's like different journeys and feeling supported for once, I think is super, super important. And also having a group that can, that you can come back to and vent even sometimes about the struggles that we face in the content creation industry, and just being understood. I think that's super, super important. So
that's absolutely fantastic to see, and late congratulations on that as well. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now specifically, let's talk about creators. Same question, but is there any like specific creators that you look up to in the industry? Like that, was there anyone when you started that you were like, yo, this person's really cool, and they basically like set the bar for me? Or it could even be now.
So for me, it is, I started watching Twitch in 2015. I was really into a game called Destiny, and I went on to YouTube watching Professor Broman, and then he was like, oh, come over to my Twitch channel, and I was like, what is Twitch? And then he raided King Athalion, and I just loved what he did on stream. He was like an entertainer. He had beatboxing, like lots of crazy stuff would happen on his stream, and I was just like, he always had his chat at the heart of his content as well, and that really inspired me to start streaming. But I think as time goes on and you meet new streamers, I feel like more streamers that are closer to me, that inspire me every day, and watching them progress and work and see what they're doing out there really inspire me. But yeah, it's the thing to show, like the times, 2015, that, the only kind of person to inspire me at that time that was so visible and out there was a cis white man. But here we are.
We have to get it from somewhere, I guess. We deal with the cards that we're given. We pick the straws. What about yourselves, foxqueen? How about you? Was there anybody that you looked up to when you started out?
When I first started, honestly, a big reason I came to Twitch, if you all know Ray Narvaez, he used to be on with Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter. He started out there and then moved to Twitch and started doing that full time. And I started watching him when I was like young. And I started streaming when I was super young. Like I started when I was like 18, like barely. I should not have been streaming that young, to be honest. But there's a lot of really cool people that I've definitely over the years started like looking up to more and discovering that are such big role models. I mean, Mia, you're one of them. I think you're so cool. And you've achieved so much. I mean, I met Mia before she was before she was even partnered. Like I've been friends with her for a second, and it's been so cool to watch your journey, Mia, and it's so inspiring to me. I think you're the coolest.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now I've got to be like raw and like, oh God, okay, flustered. That is very much appreciated, and it's been very, very nice to know you during that time as well. I just want to take a brief moment to welcome back radderss. Welcome back to yourself to the show.
Thank you.
I also wanted to give you a chance in a moment to catch up on the other questions that I've asked. But first, Win, how about yourself? Was there anybody that you looked up to when you started that really set the bar for you?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if anyone here knows the name Lily Pichu. She's a pretty big streamer and content creator. I think she was one of the like when streaming was in its infancy. And before it was such a widespread thing. I think she was one of the OG content creators. Like she's just so talented. And for those who don't know her, she is a like Asian American streamer. She did a lot of, I think she started with League of Legends, but she's very multi-talented. She has done singing. She makes her own music. She's done a lot of artwork, and recently she's even gotten into voice acting professionally. But I remember back, and this was even before I had started streaming, when I was in college, I did an internship for a local like game studio, and everyone I worked with was super nice, but a lot of the people there were they were men, right? And there was literally the only other woman in the studio was another student, so there wasn't really anyone that I had to look up to. And like I think even back then in the gaming industry as a whole, like at that time, a lot of the people that were really visible were guys that were professional competitive gamers. But Lily, she was out here, she was just doing her thing, putting herself out there, and it really struck me because she's also like seemed really shy and seemed to be like finding her voice. I think that she also got a lot of hate because she was dating a professional League player at the time. And so, like seeing her profile online, there were also a lot of comments like, oh, you're only big because you're dating Hotshot GG, or like you're not anything special, your voice is fake, because she has a really high-pitched voice. Just seeing her put up with all the stuff that she shouldn't have had to, despite all of that, she kept coming back every time, and now she's one of the most well-known names in the industry. But I really admire how even with all of that, she was always very open about her struggles with being a content creator, with mental health. And she's not queer, I think, but I felt very, very able to relate to her. So, and seeing her succeed just made me think, maybe I have a shot. Maybe that can be me someday. Maybe not like a huge like content creator or a streamer, but someone at least who's able to work in games and enjoy it and have my own little community.
That's awesome. You said she was a VA. Is she in Genshin? Or is
she is.
She is.
Yes,
I see the tie in there.
Which is Saru, right?
Yeah, she is Sayu. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and again, it is really cool because it's like, yeah, she's like us. She's one of us, right? She started the same way that we did, basically, and now look at where she is today. So,
Absolutely. Radderss, I want to obviously give you an opportunity here. We'll go back to the previous question, but right now, are there any like women that you would admire or look up to in the industry? This could be like when you started, or even now, even.
Oh gosh. Yes, and there are many, many, many. I think there are so many just really bloody cool women in this industry. And I mean, like when I first started on Twitch, women were a lot less visible in the industry. But like I started on Twitch in 2015, so like nearly 8 years ago. So it's been a while, and like back in those days, one of my favorite female streamers was a streamer called whinnaay. And she did a lot of like competitive content, lots of shooter games. I really love a good shooter game. I quite enjoy just going pew pew. And like before I got to like know whinnaay, I thought she was a really cool streamer, and it was really cool to see a woman being at the kind of same level as men on Twitch, right? In terms of like viewer numbers and like the kind of content and the overall like chat interaction. Like it was like her being a woman wasn't relevant, you know? And it was just a really nice thing to see a woman like just being successful on Twitch, because 8 years ago there weren't very many that were like, you know, and at the top in the same way. And I mean, even now, like how many of the top 100 streamers are women? Like 3?
Yeah,
2?
yeah, it's
Something like that. So there isn't a huge amount
ridiculous.
of progress, but I have noticed a greater like visibility over the last few years, like more recently, of women in the industry, like, and women being more open about their achievements in the industry as well, because it's like, hell yeah, seeing women openly succeeding, it like gives you that kind of like strength of like, yeah, any one of us could do it.
Speaking again of amazing people, and we mentioned amazing organizations, were there any organizations that you see out there that you wanted to mention real quick who are doing good work within the space?
Oh gosh, yeah, there's quite a lot of them.
Not to put you on the spot. Again, there are many, so
not to like just like not get you in any hot water with any sponsors or anything, but I quite like Xbox.
Oh, they're pretty good.
They're pretty
good. They're pretty cool. Yeah, we like them here at gaming.
I also have heard like well, I don't know if it's just like performative pride stuff, so maybe I shouldn't say anything. You know, no, it's okay. That's okay. I think.
Well, I mean, we know rainbow capitalism is a thing sometimes, and we try and we try and do our best to try and like figure out who is just showing up to put a rainbow on there, and who is actually going to bat for the community and actually like and helping people.
And, actually no, and I'll also say rare seems pretty cool.
Honestly, yeah, Rare has done some nice things. I feel like oh lord, oh gosh, how have I forgotten their name? The makers of Dead by Daylight. We constantly talk about Dead by Daylight, but I've forgotten who makes Dead by Daylight. Anyway, those devs are constantly seem to be going back to bat for marginalized communities. So just a quick mention for them as well, because they're quite fantastic. But yes, so speaking of role models, just be aware that you're probably role models to a lot of people yourselves. So a quick pat on the back. Like there's going to be a lot of people out there that will see what you're doing in the space and the things that you're doing as women in the space, and will be either inspired to start themselves, or just generally just you've made people's lives so much better. So again, just thank you for being content creators within the space. What advice would you give to any female creators or young professionals who are trying to enter into the gaming space? And then anybody can jump in on that. Like if there is somebody who came to you like a community member and they're like, I love you. I love what you do. You're amazing. Have you got any advice for me?
Good moderation. Be prepared for anything, really.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think there's something to be said there about making sure that you have yourself a fantastic team behind you that is protecting you from all the ne'er-do-wells on the internet. Especially in this day and age, some people out there be crazy. That's the whole thing. Sorry, not let's. I'm trying to move away from using the word crazy. Apologies for that. They amaze me with their behavior. Let's put it that way instead. Right then. Anybody else what advice would you give?
Yeah, advice I would give to any content creator starting is to like really connect with your why. Like why do you want to be a content creator? What is it about content creation that you love? Because if there's so many jobs you can get that pay way more. So connect with your why, and hopefully it's not money. And then I think about how you can add value to your audience, how you can add value to your streams so they come back, and then to have fun with it, enjoy it, and to understand what you bring to the table. What is your unique selling quality that you have that no one else has or is doing? So that's the advice I'd give.
That is excellent. That's something that people always like don't necessarily think about, like, because like, there's always those that are like, oh, I'm just going to start and get famous overnight, and they sometimes need that wake up call, to be fair. So yeah, I feel you on that. How about you, Win? Was there any advice that you would give somebody just starting out?
I would say just start, honestly, because I feel like for a lot of people, especially those of us who have a lot of imposter syndrome, that feel like maybe we don't belong because there's not a lot of existing representation out there, just go and do the thing. That's something that I struggle with a lot as well. Like I feel like I'm a little bit too perfectionistic at times, and sometimes I'll spend way too much time working on a video, or I won't start my stream because it feels like I'm not ready, or I could work on X or Y or Z and improve that. But really just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid. Obviously that's easier said than done, but the only way for you to start, the only way for you to put yourself out there is to actually do it, right? So it's not your I know this is slightly different, but I remember hearing a lot of other people, and I would think the same thing too, in corporate before I started streaming full time. People would say, oh, like, I don't want to apply to this job because I don't feel 100% qualified. But it's not your job to reject your application. It's the hiring team's job, right? And I think that also in content creation and streaming, that ties back to what Gleaney said. It's really, really important to think about, why are you streaming? Why do you want to create content, and who are you creating content for? Because it's so easy in the industry to look at numbers and focus on metrics and feel down about it. It's just something that happens especially as time goes on, where you can't help but kind of tie your self-worth to how well you're performing, how many views you're getting, how many people are stopping by your stream and chatting. But at the end of the day, as long as you know that you've done your best effort and you're happy with what you put out and how your stream went, then that's all that matters, because that's what you can control, right? You can't control how many people come to your stream. You can't control the state of the economy and how many subscribers you get and stuff. So just focus on what you can do. And sometimes the most that you can do is just press go live and show up, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
That's definitely important to remember. Definitely, I think that's important to remember for a lot of people who are streaming right now. Actually, with the decline in numbers for in general on certain platforms. Radderss, how about yourself? Is there any advice you give to people starting out?
Yeah, my advice to people starting out is to kind of separate from the actual doing the live stream aspect. It's to find the platform that you feel that you would be happiest on, and then immerse yourself in the community. So find like streamers who make the kind of content that you would like to make, and get to know like how that whole thing works, right? Because there's so many facets of streaming, especially like the live streaming and the community based content that a lot of us do. I don't think anyone here is more of like a performative or competitive. We're more focused on like our communities and interacting with them through our content more. So like if that's the kind of streamer you want to be, like get out there into the Twitch world, or into YouTube, or wherever else, or TikTok, wherever it is that you want to kind of have your home be online, like for your content, and just like get used to it, get used to how the platform works, get used to how people communicate, and then from that you can kind of like take little like bits of inspiration of like helping you kind of put together a plan of like, okay, what kind of content do I want to make? Because it can be really difficult just to sit there and out of thin air go, I'm going to play this game. Like you might, just through browsing find a content style or a game series that you might never have checked out or made content on, and now you're suddenly like, oh dang, that's actually really cool, I'd love to do this, this and this. And, it helps you kind of get that inspiration you needed to get started if you're feeling a little unsure.
Absolutely. Yes. It's interesting that, because I feel like we all need, like, again, as we're going back to the former question, positive influences. And I know we've talked about a lot of darkness today, especially in the last year or so. But I really wanted to ask you, and apologies, this wasn't planned for, but is there anything that has happened during your time in live streaming, that memory that like sticks with you, that you cherish? And not just because you're like women in the space, but in general, is there anything that you fondly remember being like, this was it, this is why I do this? And anybody can jump in on that. I know that's a big question, especially to pull that up on you last minute. But yeah, is there anything that's like just stuck with you from your time streaming or creating content?
I'll start. So this year I got invited to St. Jude's Summit, and that really made me like so happy to be doing what I do, and to talk to kids that I've raised money for to help, and to help build structures and help pay off medical debts and just various things. Like, it was such an amazing experience, and it really made me, it honestly made me rethink a lot of my life and how I think about it, because it really put things into perspective with about how, I don't know, how I should be living my life, and how thankful I should be for like what I have and what I do. And I don't know, having these resources and being able to help people in that way. Like, it was such an amazing experience, and I'm such a big fan of St. Jude. Like, it was so cool. And if you guys haven't ever been invited to Summit, I hope, or if you are ever invited to Summit, like, you guys 100% should go, because it's such an amazing experience. But that was one of my favorite things ever that I've done for streaming.
Absolutely. Again, a fantastic cause, St. Jude. Definitely worth supporting if you haven't already. Yeah, that's great to hear, foxqueen. Like, I can't imagine even like being able to see like the actual effects of the work that you've put in.
So amazing. It was so cool. And we got to meet patients and just tour the facilities and talk to people that worked there. And it was so cool. Like, I don't know. It made me so happy to raise money and to talk about the cause and all that. I don't know. I thought it was so neat. Sorry.
And Not to be like too cheesy, but does anybody else have a memory that they like keep close to their heart? That sounds so cheesy to say, but like, yeah, what was been a positive positive thing for you during your time streaming? It doesn't have to be one thing; it could be something general.
I was gonna mention when I went to St. Jude like 5 years ago. So
Oh,
instead,
there you go.
I'll think of something real selfish off the top of my head. Right. Okay. So one of like my like kind of like biggest wowest moments just from streaming was when 2K flew me to Hollywood to be one of the first 300 streamers to create content on Borderlands 3. And
That's
it was like
awesome.
the coolest moment of my life. And they were so amazing as well. They were like, we know you have health problems. So if you want to come in a day early so that you can recover, like that's totally fine with us. We'll make that work. They made sure that I had like a disabled access room. They got me a private bus. They rented me a scooter. They got me an assistant to like actually be like my kind of point of contact for any like health needs, accessibility concerns, whatever. Like they were so 100% the most supportive ever, and I will love them forever. And I'm like a big, very sad, very extreme Borderlands fan. I bloody love Borderlands. I've got the posters right there. That's the gayest poster they do, and I love it.
Absolutely love that.
Hammerlock and Wainwright. I should.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, like in like a selfish thing, because like I have a lot of issues with like self-esteem, imposter syndrome. I'm pretty sure I have like ADHD because I can never remember anything good I ever do in my life. But like that's one thing that sticks out to me as like a very much a like, oh, you did that. Because if I hadn't done what I do, they never would have known I exist. They wouldn't have gone, oh, hey, you're a cool creator and you really love Borderlands. Do you want to come out to Hollywood? Like, that's a huge thing. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, it's the coolest moment that I've ever had, like, with a company, like, from all of this. And I'm just, yes, very excited. Yes.
And either Win or Gleaney, is there anything that sticks out in your mind as like something positive that you've taken with you?
Honestly, like every time someone tells me that like my stream helped to brighten their day, or that, you know, hearing me laugh like helped to cheer them up and made them laugh too. And there have been times in the past, I remember there was one time where like radderss, I'm pretty sure I have ADHD because I have such a poor memory. So I had a survey, a Google form, and I was asking members of my community to fill it out and be like, oh, like, you know, what do you like about the stream? Why do you keep coming back? What do you think I can improve? And so many people said that they really liked how they felt, you know, supported not just by me, but by the entire community, like being reminded that I've been able to build and foster this network of people that not only like, you know, they come to me for reassurance and to they feel like comfortable to express themselves and who they are, but they can also go to other people and feel that way too. And I think actually recently there were a few people for Pride Month. Actually, I had a queer community section on one of my streams where people from the community, people who weren't streamers or regularly in the spotlight, they could come onto stream and talk for like 10 minutes about themselves, their queer experiences. And a lot of people said that they were so grateful for this space and this community because they felt comfortable to be themselves where they couldn't feel like that elsewhere. So that's like, it's really touching and humbling because I feel like, you know, there's so much, streaming is quite a saturated market, right? And I personally don't feel like super entertaining or anything. I think my biggest strength lies in being interactive and fostering a safe space. So to hear that for a lot of people, this space is important to them, it really, really means a lot. So
yeah, that's so incredibly wholesome. Yeah, it's always great to hear. Like our communities are what keep us coming back, to be fair, and I totally feel you on that. Gleaney, what about yourself? Any positive memories that you've had during your time?
I feel like there's so many. Like, obviously, mirroring what Winnie said, meeting some of the Gleaney gang at TwitchCon, both TwitchCons, at TwitchCon San Diego and at TwitchCon Amsterdam, was incredible. Just like putting a face to someone that's like text in your chat for like years, actually meeting them and hugging them and being hi, hello. Oh, it was really incredible. Also, I went on the Crown show, and it was the spotlight show. So for my talent, I brought my guitar out, and we made a song with chat. So everything that chat wrote in the thing, and it was quite a lot of my community in there. And we just made a song together, and that was just awesome. so freaking cool. And like we just created this thing together, and it was kind of mirroring like building a community and creating something together. It was a really special moment for me.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I honestly, I can just echo that as well. I've mentioned this several times before, but it's been so nice for me to have people. This is mostly just the queer experience coming up to me and saying, "You're the reason that I started like exploring like my personal identity and how I identify in the world, and like because of you, I took specific steps to being the person that I want to be now." And that's always so heartfelt, and it's always stuck with me so much. And I think that's probably the most affecting thing for me out of anything I've been doing here. But I want to add another thing to that. I'm going to add this podcast specifically because I have been absolutely adoring how our guests today, while they're not talking, have been hyping each other up in the chats. And you won't be able to see this, listeners, at home, but it's been absolutely fantastic to see. Again, women just supporting women in the space. Absolutely. We love that. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, but I wanted to give you all an opportunity to tell everybody watching who you are, what you got coming up, and where they can find your content. Again, we'll go down the line. Win, let's start with you. What have you got coming up on the channel?
I think actually I'm going to be focusing a lot on making YouTube content. I'll still be streaming once to twice a week. You can find me on twitch.tv/whinnaay and also on youtube.com/whinnaay. Honestly, all of my handles have the same name, Whinnaay. That's with 2 N's and 2 A's. But otherwise, yeah, I think I'll just be chilling for a bit. Don't really have anything special planned. Would love if you just come and hang out when I'm live, honestly.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are looking for links, by the way, they are going to be in chat right now. And you can make sure you can go check out Win at twitch.tv/win. Well, it's Winnie, but it's Whinnaay. It's double A.
Honestly,
yeah, exactly
happy to...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Happy to have more conversations like this on my own channel too. So
absolutely. The name is on the screen if you need the spelling. Gleaney, what about you? What have you got coming up on the channel? Where can people find your content?
So you can find me on twitch.tv/Gleaney. I stream mainly Genshin, but I also stream like lots of new release adventure quest games. I'm off for a week because I'm going to TwitchCon, but you can find me on the Sega channel. I'm doing a stream on Saturday on the Sega channel live from TwitchCon, and then when I get back, we're going to be getting into some more Genshin content and some Final Fantasy 16.
Absolutely love that. I've not started my own playthrough yet, but we'll have to talk about that at some point. I want to get your how have you been feeling about 16 actually? Just real quick, are you enjoying it?
It's gonna win Game of the Year. It's Game of the Year. It's so good. It's so good.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. Radderss, yourself, where can people find your content? What you got coming up? Tell people about that.
I pretty much stream on Twitch for 4 times a week over at twitch.tv/radderss, which is RADDERSS. You won't see much coming up over the next week because I'm also going to TwitchCon Paris. But I do
perfect timing
also
for this podcast. Yeah,
I do also have a stream from Sega.
Let's go
on Sunday.
That's awesome.
On Sunday at 10 a.m. CEST, it's going to be a co-op stream with my friend Lamadia, who is also a fantastic woman in this industry. and we're going to be doing like a little like co-op thing for them. But mostly my content at the moment has kind of gone down the silly route. Recently, this weekend, I did Crowd Control, Fallout 4, but I also added silly mods to Fallout 4 so that it was extra chaotic. And I think that's going to become a semi-regular thing on my channel because it was way too much fun to not bring it back. So, yeah.
Yeah, you were telling us about it just before the podcast. It sounded amazing. Absolutely. Yeah. What were some of the modifications to the game, if you don't mind?
The ghouls screaming chocolate from SpongeBob. All the laser guns go pew 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 instead of laser sounds. When I die, it goes dame 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 oh dame nano yo. And then also all of the death claws are Macho Man Randy Savage.
Perfect. 10 out of 10. I love that. That's awesome. And of course, you can find that at twitch.tv/radderss. And Fox Queen, Alice, what have you got coming up on your channel? Where can people find the content?
So on a lot of places I'm Fox Queen, on some places I'm Romping Fox because Fox Queen's a popular name, because of course it is. But as not to copy Winnie, but I'll also be primarily focusing on my YouTube. So if you want to check that out, I'm posting a new video, which is my Fata Morgana Let's Play, which is a visual novel that's spooky and a mystery. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. Other than that, my birthday's this Friday, so I'm doing a birthday stream. Yeah, I turned 26, which is exciting. And I do hard content and Final Fantasy 14 a lot of the time. So if you want to pop by and join for any of that, I'm trying to go through the current raid tier right now. And I primarily tank in that. I'm also finishing Breath of the Wild this week, probably, maybe. I'm stuck in all of the freaking shrines right now, but it's my first time playing it. It's been so fun. And then maybe moving to Tears of the Kingdom, and I guess 2 years from now playing Final Fantasy 16 because I don't have a PS5. So that's what's up for me.
Honestly, again, Breath of the Wild, fantastic. Tears of the Kingdom, for me, even better. So you've got that to look forward to. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Awesome. Again, that's at twitch.tv/Fox Queen. So I want to say a massive thank you to all of our guests today, especially as they stayed longer than this show was originally supposed to be airing for. So give them some massive props in chat for chatting to us for that long. I felt like this is a really important conversation. It's very, very important we have these conversations. And thank you so much for giving up your time and being here today. So yes, thank you to our lovely guests, Fox Queen, Gleaney, Radderss, and of course, Whinnaay. Winnie. I keep saying it wrong. I just keep saying it wrong.
You got it. You've got it. No,
okay, good.
That's yeah.
All right, cool. Right. So, of course, that's not the only thank yous I have to say today. A big thank you to our DigiPride partners, Healthy Sexual, Wizards of the Coast, AT&T, and Xbox, and sponsors Devolver Digital and Marvelous for supporting DigiPride. And thank you so much for joining us on this roundtable episode of the Gaming Podcast live season, this special DigiPride special. We're going to be live again on Saturday the 8th, I believe, for a special communities panel. So tune in at, I believe that's the same time as 3 p.m. ET, 8 p.m. UK. My producer can tell me if I'm wrong on that. And join us for what promises to be a fantastic celebration of our queer communities. So please do. I'm getting, yes, it is that. So yes, make sure that you're hitting the follow button either here, or whether you're watching on Twitch or TikTok, hit that follow button right now. Until then, you can follow the Gaming Mag channel here on Twitch, TikTok, or subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the amazing shows. And of course, you can find the podcast clips on our TikTok as well as other awesome stuff. Go follow Gaming Mag now so you don't miss out. But until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.